Elena Cruz never expected to be accused of theft in front of 200 wedding guests, a live streaming phone, and a groom who looked like his entire future had just slipped out of his hands. But there she was, standing in the marble foyer of the Silverthorne Bay Resort, the air smelling like orchids and expensive cologne, while Brielle Ashford held up an empty ring box like it was a weapon. "She took it," Brielle said, voice trembling in a way that sounded practiced. "She took my engagement ring." A few people gasped. Someone whispered, "Oh my God." And then security stepped closer. Two men in earpieces and dark suits, like Elena was dangerous, like she might bolt with a diamond in her pocket. Elena's palms went cold, her mouth went dry, because she hadn't taken the ring. And she knew exactly why Brielle wanted everyone to believe she had. Right under Brielle's manicured hand, tucked against the velvet of that ring box, was something else most people wouldn't notice. A wedding contract packet with a gold-stamped seal on the corner. The seal was wrong, not fake, not cheap. Wrong as in, it wasn't from this resort. And if Elena said that out loud in this room with these people, she wouldn't just lose a job, she'd become a threat. Can you imagine being framed for stealing a bride's ring while holding the one detail that could expose a multi-million-dollar scam? If you're listening right now, comment where you're watching from, city, state, or country, because this story turns into the kind of justice that makes you sit up in your chair. And if you want more long cinematic stories where the powerful get exposed and the overlooked finally win, make sure you're subscribed. Now let me take you back to how Elena ended up in that foyer. Why a wedding planner with a humble background became the target of an elite family's trap, and how one little gold seal on an invitation became the key to breaking an entire operation wide open. Elena had built her career on one simple rule: don't sign in the dark. She said it to her couples when they were too excited to read vendor contracts. She said it to florists when they were too nervous to ask for deposits. She said it to herself when she felt pressured by a client's money and a venue's urgency. Don't sign in the dark. It was a mantra that sounded like common sense, until you worked in an industry where everyone tried to make you sign while the lights were off. 3 months earlier, Elena had been sitting at the small desk in her one-bedroom apartment, a mug of instant coffee cooling beside her laptop, when the email arrived. Subject line: Silverthorne Bay Resort, Premier Wedding Booking, Urgent. The sender, a resort coordinator named Kendall Voss. Eleanor's eyes widened because Silverthorne Bay wasn't just a venue, it was a statement. It was the place where people got married when they wanted photos that looked like movies and an address that sounded like old money. Eleanor almost didn't open it. Not because she wasn't curious, because she knew what kind of clients came with places like that. Clients who smiled at you until you asked a question. Clients who treated help like a setting on a dishwasher. But curiosity and rent are a dangerous combination. Elena clicked. The email was simple. A high-profile couple needed a planner immediately. The resort wanted a full-service professional to manage vendors, schedule, and VIP accommodations. The budget was substantial. The timeline was tight. At the bottom was a name Elena recognized from local gossip and glossy magazines: Brielle Ashford. And next to her name, like a shadow that made everything colder, Randall Ashford, her stepfather, a real estate magnate with a charity foundation and a reputation for getting whatever he wanted without ever raising his voice. Elena's stomach tightened. She'd heard stories everyone in the event world had. Randall didn't just buy venues, he bought people's silence. Elena stared at the screen for a long time before she replied, because she didn't want to be naive, but she did want to be brave. So she typed, professional and calm, and accepted the meeting. 2 days later, she drove to Silverthorne Bay in her little sedan that still smelled faintly of air freshener and old leather. The resort rose out of the coastal trees, like a dream someone rich had paid to build. White stone, glass balconies, fountains that didn't need to exist but did anyway. Inside, everything glittered, everything whispered. Elena walked to the concierge with her portfolio under her arm, chin lifted, breathing steady. The receptionist smiled too brightly. "Welcome to Silverthorne Bay. You must be Elena Cruz." Elena nodded. "Yes." "You're expected," the woman said, and Elena knew that phrase meant she'd already been evaluated by someone she hadn't met. She followed Kendall Voss through corridors lined with framed photos of smiling couples and sunset ceremonies. Kendall was in her late 20s, hair slicked back into a tight bun, clipboard held like a shield. Kendall's smile never reached her eyes. "We're excited to work with you," she said. Elena kept her tone light. "I'm excited too. I love waterfront venues." Kendall paused at a set of double doors. "This couple is important." Elena nodded politely. "Every couple is important." Kendall's lips tightened, like Elena had missed the point on purpose. "Yes, but some couples have expectations." Elena kept her expression calm. Inside the conference room, Brielle Ashford sat at the head of a glossy table like she'd been born there. She wore a cream blazer, diamond studs, and a smile that looked like it had been approved by a brand manager. Beside her sat the groom, Ethan Mercer, tall and handsome in that safe, polished way. His eyes were kind, but tired, like he'd been pulled between love and pressure and didn't know where to set his feet. And standing near the window, hands in his pockets, watching Eleanor like she was a variable in an equation, was Randall Ashford. He wasn't tall in a dramatic way. He wasn't loud. He didn't need to be. His power sat in his stillness. "Elena," Brielle said, rising to offer a hand. "So nice to finally meet you." Elena shook her hand. Brielle's grip was cool and firm, like a business deal. "Thank you for having me," Elena said. Randall stepped forward. "Ms. Cruz." "Elena is fine," Elena replied, professional but warm. Randall's mouth twitched into a smile that didn't show teeth. "We've heard you're, meticulous." Elena smiled back. "Meticulous keeps weddings from turning into disasters." Brielle laughed lightly. "We're not worried about disasters. We're worried about perfection." Ethan shifted slightly. "We want it to feel like us," he said gently. Brielle glanced at him like he'd said something inconvenient, then turned back to Eleanor. "Yes," she said, "us, with a little cinematic magic." Eleanor nodded. "I can do cinematic. I just need clarity, priorities, boundaries, contracts." Randall's eyes narrowed slightly at the word contracts. Elena noticed. Kendall slid a packet across the table. "Our standard agreement," she said. Elena opened it and scanned. Venue fees, staffing, security, vendor access rules. Then her eyes paused on a clause that made her stomach tighten. Third-party vendor payments may be processed through resort revenue services at discretion. Elena looked up. "What does this mean exactly?" Kendall's smile stayed fixed. "It simplifies payment." Elena didn't smile back. "For who?" Brielle leaned forward, voice sweet. "Elena, we're very busy. We don't want to chase invoices." Elena nodded. "Understood. But processing third-party payments through the resort changes liability. It changes who is responsible if something goes wrong. I need to read the fine print and confirm with each vendor." Randall's gaze sharpened. "This is how we do things here." Elena kept her tone even. "I respect your process, but I don't sign in the dark." The room went quiet. Ethan's eyes flicked to Eleanor with something like appreciation. Brielle's smile tightened. Randall didn't move, but Elena saw the subtle shift, like a door had closed somewhere. "Of course," Randall said smoothly. "Take your time." But his eyes said something else. We'll see how long you keep that rule. Elena left the meeting with the contract packet in her bag and a faint heaviness in her chest. On the drive home, she told herself she was overthinking. She told herself high-end venues had complicated billing. She told herself she needed this job. Then at a red light, her phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. Welcome to the Ashford wedding. Follow instructions. Don't cause delays. Eleanor stared at it, heart beating harder. She looked around her car as if someone might be watching from another lane. Then the light turned green and the world moved on like threats were normal. That night, Elena spread the packet on her kitchen table and read every line. She circled clauses. She highlighted language. And she found something that made her pulse jump. A page titled Vendor Addendum Digital Signature Authorization. It was a form that allowed the resort to execute vendor acknowledgements on behalf of the client for efficiency. Execute vendor acknowledgements on behalf of the client. Elena's mouth went dry. That wasn't efficiency. That was a loophole you could drive a truck through. She snapped photos and emailed Kendall with questions. Kendall replied within minutes, overly cheerful, overly vague. Standard, nothing to worry about. We'll handle everything. Elena stared at the screen and whispered to herself, don't sign in the dark. Over the next weeks, planning began in full force. Brielle wanted everything large and delicate at the same time, floating candles, mirrored aisles, a floral arch tall enough to make guests feel small. Ethan wanted something simpler, his grandmother's hymn, a small toast by his best friend, a first dance that wasn't choreographed. Elena tried to balance. She scheduled vendor meetings. She negotiated pricing. She built timelines down to the minute. And she kept noticing things that didn't add up, invoices that changed after approval, email threads that looked edited, deposit confirmations that arrived with slightly altered totals. When Elena asked questions, Kendall always had an answer, quick, smooth, and never in writing when it mattered. Call me, Kendall would say, or let's discuss in person, or that's above my level. Elena started saving everything, screenshots, PDFs, calendars, notes, because she'd learned something in her life back when she was 17 and her mother's landlord tried to raise the rent illegally. The truth matters most when you can prove it. One afternoon, Elena met Marta Delgado in the resort's bridal suite. Marta was the seamstress assigned to Brielle's dress fittings, a woman in her 60s with warm hands and sharp eyes. She moved through lace like it was music, pinning and adjusting with quiet confidence. Brielle stood on a pedestal while Marta worked. Brielle's phone was propped up on a ring light, live streaming. Elena, Brielle said without looking away from her own face on the screen. The bridesmaids want to change the color palette. Eleanor smiled politely. We can adjust, but we need to confirm with florals and linens today. Brielle sighed dramatically. It's always, we need. Why can't you just make things happen? Elena kept her tone calm. Because the people who make things happen still have contracts. Brielle's eyes flicked toward Elena, cold for a second. Then she smiled for the camera again. Contracts, she laughed. I feel like I hired a lawyer. Marta's hands paused on the fabric. Elena saw it. Marta glanced up at Elena briefly, then back to the dress. A silent signal. Later, when Brielle stepped into the bathroom to take a call, Marta leaned closer to Elena and whispered, You're careful. Elena's throat tightened. I try to be. Marta's eyes held hers. Good. Be careful here. Elena's stomach clenched. Why? Marta glanced toward the door, then back. They move papers like they move flowers. Quiet, fast, and if you ask too many questions... She didn't finish. Elena swallowed. Who's they? Marta's mouth tightened. I don't know all the names, but I know the feeling, like the room gets colder when you don't play along. Elena nodded slowly. Marta touched Elena's wrist gently, warm, grounding. "Don't sign in the dark," Marta whispered. Elena blinked. "How did you—" Marta's eyes softened. "I've seen enough planners cry in their cars. I don't want that for you." That night, Elena added another folder to her laptop, Silverthorne, backups. 2 weeks before the wedding, a new vendor emailed Elena in confusion. It was the lighting company. "Hi, Elena," the email read. "We received an addendum with a digital signature approving a 40% surcharge for rush equipment. We didn't discuss this. Can you confirm?" Elena's heart pounded. She opened the PDF. There was Brielle's signature, digital, stylized. Except Elena had been on video calls with Brielle all day. Brielle hadn't signed anything. Elena called Brielle immediately. Brielle answered on speaker in a car, wind noise in the background. "Elena, what is it?" Elena's voice stayed steady. "Did you approve a rush equipment surcharge with lighting?" Brielle laughed lightly. "No, why?" Elena took a breath. "Then someone is signing vendor addendums on your behalf." Brielle's tone sharpened. "Elena, are you accusing the resort of fraud?" Elena swallowed. "I'm saying something is happening, and it's not okay." A pause. Then Brielle said, too calm, "Forward it to Kendall. She'll fix it." Elena hesitated. "I want it fixed in writing." Brielle sighed, irritated. "You're so dramatic. Fine." The call ended. Elena forwarded the PDF to Kendall and demanded clarification. Kendall replied quickly, "System error. IT glitch. Resolved." No explanation, no apology, no paper trail. Elena stared at the screen. System error. A system error that benefited the resort. Elena whispered, "Don't sign in the dark." And she decided to do something that terrified her. She decided to check the invitation seals, because Elena had noticed something early. The wedding invitations were custom, embossed with a gold-stamped crest. Silverthorne Bay's crest was a wave and a heron. It was distinctive. It was their brand. But the crest on Brielle's newest batch of invitations, one she'd handed to VIP guests last week, had a wave and a heron and something else. A tiny star tucked into the corner. Elena had worked with Silverthorne before. That star had never been there. She called the print shop Brielle claimed to use. The owner sounded confused. "We didn't print those." Elena's pulse spiked. "Are you sure?" "We printed the first batch," the owner said. "Not the second." Elena's throat tightened. "Who did?" The owner hesitated. "I can't say, but—" "Elena, be careful. People with money don't like paper trails." Elena's hands trembled. The invitations weren't just invitations. They were proof, a symbol. Someone had introduced a second official version of documents, and if there were 2 versions of invitations, there were probably 2 versions of contracts. On the morning of the rehearsal, Elena arrived early at the resort. The ballroom was breathtaking. White drapery, ocean light pouring through tall windows, tables set like a magazine spread. Brielle arrived in a sleek white dress with her bridesmaids trailing behind like a fashion shoot. Ethan arrived quietly, hugging his mother and checking on his grandmother. Elena moved through the room with her clipboard, verifying details. And then Kendall approached her with a smile too bright. "Elena, great news," Kendall said. "Randall wants to review final vendor packets in the foyer." Elena frowned. "Now we're about to rehearse." Kendall's smile stayed fixed. "He wants it now." Elena's stomach tightened. Final vendor packets, in the foyer, public. Elena's instincts screamed. Kendall leaned closer, whispering, "It'll be quick, don't make it a thing." Elena swallowed. "I need to lock down the rehearsal." Kendall's eyes flashed. "Elena, you don't want to upset Mr. Ashford today." Elena felt heat rise in her chest. She breathed slowly and repeated in her mind, "Don't sign in the dark." She nodded politely. I'll meet him after I confirm the aisle walk. Kendall's smile faltered for half a second, then she walked away. Elena turned toward the bridal suite corridor and froze. A door she'd never seen open before was ajar. Inside was a small room labeled Archives. Elena's heart pounded. She should have walked away, but she didn't. She stepped closer. Inside, shelves of binders and locked cabinets lined the walls, and on a desk near the back, under a lamp, sat a stack of papers stamped with a gold crest. Not the heron and wave crest, the crest with the tiny star. Elena's breath caught. She stepped in, careful, and glanced at the top page. Vendor Addendum, Digital Signature Authorization. Her name was on it, as the planner, in the witness line. Elena's hands went cold. She hadn't signed it. She hadn't even seen this version. A soft sound behind her made her spin. Marta stood in the doorway, eyes wide but calm. "Elena," Marta whispered, "you shouldn't be in here." Elena swallowed. "Marta, look at this." Marta stepped closer, glanced down, and her face tightened. "I knew," Marta murmured. Elena's voice shook. "They're making second documents." Marta nodded faintly. "And they'll blame you when it breaks." Elena's throat tightened. "Why would they do this?" Marta hesitated, then said softly, "Because weddings are loud. People sign things fast. Nobody wants to ruin the day." Elena's heart pounded. She picked up her phone and snapped photos of the papers. Marta whispered urgently, "Elena, I need proof," Elena said, voice trembling. Marta's eyes darted to the hall. "They're coming." Elena shoved her phone back into her pocket and backed away. As she stepped into the corridor, Kendall appeared around the corner. Her eyes landed on Elena, then on Marta. Kendall's smile was tight. "Everything okay?" Marta's voice was smooth. "Yes, just adjusting the dress." Kendall's gaze lingered on Elena. "Elena," she said, voice sweet, "Mr. Ashford is waiting." Elena forced her face calm. "I'm coming." But as Elena walked down the hall, her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. "Stop taking photos." Her blood went cold. They were watching. The rehearsal began. Elena tried to focus on choreography, where to stand, when to walk, how to cue music. But the air felt different, like she'd stepped onto a stage and someone else controlled the lights. Then Brielle asked for a break, and as guests drifted to the foyer for cocktails and photos, Kendall guided Elena toward Randall. Randall stood near a champagne display, laughing softly with a few men in suits. When he saw Elena, his smile stayed polite. "Elena," he said, voice warm in a way that didn't feel real. "We're almost there." Elena nodded. "Yes." Randall gestured to a folder in Kendall's hands. "Final vendor addendums. We need signatures today to avoid day of surprises." Elena's stomach tightened. "I review all vendor addendums with the couple." Randall's eyes held hers. "Brielle has approved everything." Elena kept her tone even. "Then it won't be a problem to send them to me digitally, so I can confirm." Randall's smile didn't move. "We don't need delays." Elena's heart pounded. "We don't need fraud," she almost said. But she didn't, because this wasn't a debate. It was a test of whether she would fold. Randall leaned slightly closer, voice lowering so only Elena could hear. "Your reputation is your business," he said softly. "Don't damage it by being difficult." Elena's mouth went dry. Kendall held out the folder with a pen. Elena looked at it. She looked at the guests around them, laughing, sipping champagne, filming stories. And she realized something terrifying. If she refused here, they could turn it into a scene. They could make her look unstable, unprofessional. They could make her the villain who ruined the day. Elena breathed slowly. "Don't sign in the dark." She smiled politely and took the folder. "Of course," she said. "I'll review these in my office and return them within the hour." Kendall blinked. Now, Eleanor cut her off smoothly. I don't sign without reading. It's policy. Randall's eyes narrowed slightly, then he smiled again. Within the hour, he repeated, tone calm, but his gaze promised consequences. Elena walked away with the folder, pulse racing. She didn't go to her office. She went to the ballroom's AV booth because she needed light. Not metaphorical, literal. She needed bright, undeniable exposure. The AV tech looked up as Elena entered. Can I help you? Elena forced her voice steady. I need to check something in these documents. Do you have a scanner? The tech nodded. Yeah. Elena scanned the first few pages. Her heart sank. The addendums were loaded with surcharges and liability shifts, all approved by Brielle's digital signature. But something else was worse. On page 6, in a small corner, was a witness signature. Elena's name. In handwriting, a signature that looked like hers, but wasn't. A practiced imitation. Elena's hands shook. They weren't just forging the bride. They were forging her. They were building a case against her. And then Elena noticed something that made her stomach drop further. The witness signature line had a date and timestamp. Tomorrow, the wedding day, meaning someone planned to retroactively make it look like Eleanor signed it under pressure. Elena whispered, "No!" A soft voice behind her made her jump. "Don't sign in the dark," Marta said. Elena turned. Marta stood there, breathless, eyes sharp. "Marta," Elena whispered, "they forged my signature." Marta's mouth tightened. "I knew they'd try." Elena's voice cracked. "How do I stop this?" Marta swallowed hard. "You need someone with power." Elena's eyes burned. "Randall has all the power." Marta hesitated, then said softly, "Not all." Elena frowned. "Who?" Marta glanced toward the hallway. "There's a man who came in yesterday, quiet, no entourage, no photos. He watched the staff more than the flowers." Elena's heart pounded. "Who is he?" Marta lowered her voice. "Logan Pierce." Elena blinked. "The investor?" Marta nodded. "I heard Kendall say his name like it was a problem." Elena's stomach tightened. "Where is he?" Marta whispered. "Coastal Lounge. He's always near the windows." Elena didn't waste time. She left the AV booth, clutching copies in her folder, and walked through the resort like she belonged there. Because fear made you small. And small was exactly how they wanted her. The Coastal Lounge was dim and elegant, ocean visible through glass walls. And there he was. A man in a simple dark sweater, sitting alone by the window with a black coffee, watching the sunset like it was a case file. Elena approached slowly. He looked up before she reached him like he'd been expecting her. "Ms. Cruz," he said calmly. Elena froze. "How do you know my name?" Logan's expression stayed neutral. "Because you're the only person in this building who keeps asking why." Elena swallowed hard, heart pounding. "Are you Logan Pierce?" He nodded slightly. "Yes." Elena's hands trembled as she slid the scanned pages across the table. "They forged my signature," she whispered. "They're switching contracts. They're using digital signatures. They're setting me up." Logan scanned the pages quickly, eyes moving fast, sharp. Then he looked up, and the calm in his gaze turned colder. "Where did you get these?" he asked. Elena whispered, "The archives room." Logan's jaw tightened. "So it's active." Elena's breath caught. "You knew?" Logan exhaled slowly. "I suspected. That's why I'm here." Elena's voice shook. "Then help me." Logan's eyes held hers. "I will, but you need to understand what you're stepping into." Elena swallowed. "I already do." Logan leaned forward slightly. "Randall Ashford isn't just a rich stepfather. He runs payments through shell vendors. He uses events as cover. Weddings are perfect because nobody wants to ruin them." Elena's stomach turned. "So he's stealing from vendors?" Logan's voice stayed calm. He's stealing from everyone. Vendors, clients, the resort, insurance carriers, anybody who doesn't read the fine print. Elena's hands shook. And he wants me to sign so he can blame me. Logan nodded once. Yes? Elena's throat tightened. What do we do? Logan's gaze sharpened. We don't stop the wedding. Elena blinked. What? Logan's voice stayed even. We let them think the stage is safe. Then we turn the lights on. Elena swallowed hard. Logan slid the pages back to her. Do you have anything else? Anything physical? Elena hesitated, then pulled out something she'd kept in her bag without fully understanding why. A wedding invitation. Brielle's invitation. Gold seal. Logan's eyes locked on it. He reached out and held it up toward the lamp. The tiny star in the corner glinted. Logan's mouth tightened. There it is. Elena's heart pounded. What is it? Logan's voice was low. A secondary seal, used to mark documents processed through a third-party revenue service. Elena felt cold in her veins. So it's real. Logan nodded. And it's not supposed to exist. Elena's breath shook. Don't sign in the dark, she whispered. Logan's gaze flicked to her, something like respect in his eyes. Exactly. He leaned closer. Here's what we do next. You don't confront Randall. You don't confront Kendall. You don't accuse Brielle. Elena's mouth went dry. But Brielle is part of it. Logan's voice stayed calm. Brielle is part of something. We don't know how much yet. The goal is justice, not a meltdown. Elena swallowed hard. Okay, Logan said. We need the final piece, the digital trail. Elena blinked. How? Logan's eyes turned sharp. There's always someone in a wedding party who knows more than they admit. Someone who's tired of being controlled. Someone who wants to be forgiven. Elena's stomach tightened. The bridesmaids, Logan nodded. Find the one who looks uncomfortable when money is mentioned. Elena thought instantly of Sienna Hale, Brielle's maid of honor. Pretty, quiet, always hovering like she was trying to keep Brielle calm. But her eyes were never fully at ease. Elena swallowed. Sienna. Logan nodded slightly. Then start there. That night, Elena didn't sleep. She sat in her hotel room, the small staff suite Silverthorne offered planners, and listened to the ocean through the window like it was a countdown. She reviewed the documents again and again. She organized files, timestamps, screenshots, and she replayed every conversation in her mind. Randall's calm threat, Kendall's fake sweetness, Brielle's practiced tears, Ethan's tired kindness. Somewhere in all of it was the truth. And the truth, Elena knew, didn't just appear. You had to hold the line until it did. The next morning, the wedding day, Silverthorne Bay buzzed like a beehive made of money. Florists carried white roses like they were handling gold. Caterers arranged towers of champagne flutes. Hair and makeup teams floated through hallways in black uniforms. The bridal suite was chaos wrapped in silk. Elena moved through it all with a calm that felt borrowed. She smiled, she nodded, she adjusted timelines, and she kept her eyes open. At noon, she caught Sienna alone in the hallway outside the bridal suite, staring at her phone with shaking hands. Elena approached gently. Sienna. Sienna jumped and forced a smile. Elena, sorry, just nerves. Elena softened her tone. I get it. Weddings are pressure. Sienna swallowed hard. You have no idea. Elena paused. I might. Sienna's eyes flicked to the end of the corridor where Kendall stood talking to a security guard. Then Sienna looked back at Elena, voice dropping. Brielle is on edge. Elena nodded slowly. Because something's about to break. Sienna's eyes widened. What do you mean? Elena took a breath and pulled the invitation from her pocket. She didn't shove it in Sienna's face. She simply held it out. Sienna stared at the seal, and Elena watched the exact moment Sienna recognized it. Her face tightened. Her mouth went dry. Elena's heart pounded. "You know what that star means." Sienna's voice came out thin. "Where did you get that?" Elena kept her voice gentle. "From your invitations, the second batch." Sienna's hands trembled. "Elena, please, not today." Elena swallowed. "That's exactly why. Today is when they'll try to lock everything in." Sienna's eyes filled with tears that looked too real to be acting. "I can't." Elena stepped closer. "Sienna, I'm not here to ruin the wedding. I'm here to stop people from being destroyed." Sienna's lips trembled. "Randall said," Eleanor's heart tightened. "Randall threatened you." Sienna flinched like Eleanor had said a secret name out loud. Eleanor lowered her voice. "Don't sign in the dark." Sienna blinked. "How do you—" Eleanor's eyes held hers. "Because that's what this is. A dark room, a pen, a trap." Sienna's breath shook. She looked down the hallway again, then back at Eleanor. "Brielle doesn't know everything," Sienna whispered. Elena's chest tightened. "But she knows enough to accuse me of stealing a ring." Sienna's face crumpled. "That wasn't supposed to happen like this." Elena's pulse spiked. "So it's planned." Sienna squeezed her eyes shut. "They said if something went wrong, they'd blame you. They said you were too careful." Eleanor felt cold in her veins. "Who said?" Sienna swallowed. "Kendall and Randall." Eleanor's jaw tightened. "Sienna, I need the digital trail." Sienna's eyes widened. "I don't have—" Elena leaned closer. "Yes, you do. You're the maid of honor. You're the one they'd trust with backup." Sienna's hand shook harder. Then she whispered, "There's a flash drive." Elena's breath caught. "Where?" Sienna glanced toward the bridal suite door. "Brielle keeps it in her emergency kit. She calls it her insurance." Elena's heart pounded. "What's on it?" Sienna swallowed hard. "Vendor contracts, email drafts, payment schedules, a folder called Final Signatures." Elena's stomach turned. "So it's all there." Sienna's voice cracked. "Elena, if I give you that, I ruin my friendship. I ruin my life." Elena's tone softened. "Sienna, if you don't, you ruin someone else's." Sienna shook, tears falling. "I don't want anyone hurt." Eleanor nodded. "Then choose the light." Sienna stared at Elena, trembling. Then she whispered, "Meet me in the linen corridor. 10 minutes. No phones." Elena's heart hammered. "Okay." Sienna walked away, and Elena realized she'd just stepped onto the edge of something that could either save her or swallow her whole. 10 minutes later, Elena waited in the linen corridor behind the ballroom. The air smelled like detergent and steam. A cart of folded towels sat against the wall. Footsteps approached. Sienna appeared, face pale, clutching a small zip pouch. She opened it and pulled out a tiny flash drive with a gold keychain attached. Elena's breath caught. "This is it!" Sienna's hands shook. "I didn't open it. I didn't want to know." Elena's eyes held hers. "But you did know." Sienna's voice broke. "I knew enough." Eleanor gently took the drive. "Thank you." Sienna's lips trembled. "What happens now?" Eleanor swallowed hard. "Now we make sure no one else gets used." Sienna exhaled shakily. "Brielle, she's not evil. She's controlled." Elena's heart tightened. "So are you." Sienna flinched. Elena softened. "That's why this is your chance." Sienna nodded faintly. "Please, don't destroy her." Elena's voice was steady. "I'm not looking for destruction. I'm looking for justice." Sienna whispered, "Randall doesn't lose." Eleanor looked toward the ballroom doors, where music was beginning to warm up. "Then today," Elena said quietly, He learns how it feels. She pocketed the drive and walked straight to Logan Pierce. Logan was near the back terrace, watching the staff move like he was counting patterns. Elena approached and handed him the flash drive. Logan's gaze sharpened. "You got it." Elena nodded, throat tight. "From Sienna." Logan nodded once, like he'd expected exactly that. "Good," Elena swallowed. "What's next?" Logan's voice stayed calm. "Now we confirm. Then we choose the moment." Elena's heart pounded. "The moment?" Logan looked toward the ballroom. "They want a public humiliation. They want you to be the story, so we give them a story." Elena's hands trembled. "I'm scared." Logan's gaze turned steady. "Then hold your rule." Elena whispered, "Don't sign in the dark." Logan nodded. "Exactly." Logan disappeared briefly into a private office. When he returned, his jaw was set. "It's all there," he said quietly. "Payment routing, signature cloning, vendor surcharges, and a folder titled Ring Incident with a script." Elena's blood went cold, wrapped in heat. "A script." Logan nodded. Brielle was told what to say. Kendall was told what to do. Security was told where to stand. Elena's mouth went dry. "Ethan?" Logan's eyes narrowed. "No folder about Ethan. That might mean he's not in on it." Elena swallowed. "So they're using him too?" Logan's voice was low. "Yes, and that's why the cleanest justice is the kind that doesn't just punish. It frees the people being used." Elena exhaled shakily. Logan leaned closer. "Here's the plan. You do your job. Keep the wedding moving. Let them think you're trapped. And when they try to force you to confess..." Elena's heart pounded. "We turned the lights on." The ceremony began at sunset. The ballroom doors opened to reveal an aisle lined with white roses and candlelight. The ocean glowed outside like it had been hired for the day. Guests sat in hushed awe. Phones rose. Brielle entered on Randall's arm, a perfect picture of elegance and control. Ethan waited at the altar, eyes shining with something real. Elena stood near the side, headset on, hands steady, heart pounding. For a few minutes it looked like a normal wedding. And that's what made it terrifying, because traps are always prettiest right before they snap shut. Halfway through the vows, Elena saw Kendall slip out of the ballroom. Elena's instincts screamed. She followed quietly into the hallway. Kendall was at a side table where a small black box sat, wedding gifts and envelopes. Kendall's hands moved fast. She opened the box, pulled out something small wrapped in velvet, and slipped it into her pocket. Elena's breath stopped. The ring. Elena backed away, heart pounding, and returned to her station. She didn't confront Kendall. Not yet. Don't sign in the dark. Wait for the light. The vows ended. Applause rose. Music swelled. And then the reception began. Speeches, laughter, champagne. Elena moved through the room like she was made of calm, but her eyes tracked every shift. At 8:20 p.m., Randall approached the DJ booth with Kendall at his side. Elena's stomach tightened because she knew what came next. Randall nodded toward the microphone. Kendall leaned in and whispered to the DJ. The DJ's expression flickered with uncertainty. Then he handed the mic to Brielle. Brielle took it like she'd been waiting all night. She smiled brightly at the guests. "I just want to thank everyone for being here," she said, voice sweet and loud. Guests cheered. Brielle's smile tightened. "And I also want to address something unfortunate." Elena's pulse spiked. Brielle's gaze swept the room and landed on Elena like a spotlight. "My engagement ring," Brielle said, voice trembling, "went missing today." Gasps, whispers. Phones rose higher. Ethan's face went pale. "Brielle!" Brielle lifted a hand, still smiling, still trembling. and I didn't want to ruin the day. But some people don't respect boundaries. Elena's hands went cold. Randall stood behind Brielle, expression calm, like he was watching a show he'd paid for. Kendall hovered near the side, ready. Brielle continued, I trusted the people I hired. I trusted the staff. But I've been advised that the person who had access to my suite is our planner. The room went silent. Ethan's head snapped toward Eleanor, shock and confusion in his eyes. Eleanor felt the old instinct rise, the one she'd had since childhood, when teachers assumed she cheated because she was quiet, when customers assumed she was lying because she was young. Disappear. Run. But she didn't. She breathed slowly, and she stepped forward. Brielle's voice rose, cracking perfectly. Elena, if you took it, just return it. We don't have to involve anyone else. Elena's throat tightened. Then she saw it. The security guards moving closer, just like in the script. And she understood. This wasn't just humiliation. This was containment. If Elena panicked, they'd escort her out. They'd take her phone. They'd isolate her. They'd make her confess privately. And then the contracts would be signed in the dark. Elena lifted her chin. She walked toward the center of the room, into the spotlight they'd aimed at her. And she said calmly into the silence, I didn't take your ring. Brielle's eyes flashed. Elena held up a hand. But I do have something to say, and I'm going to say it with the lights on. A murmur rippled through the guests. Randall's eyes narrowed slightly. Ethan stepped forward. Elena, what is happening? Elena looked at him and her voice softened for a second. Ethan, I'm sorry. I think you're being used. Ethan's brow furrowed, pain crossing his face. Brielle's voice snapped. This is not the time. Elena turned back to Brielle. Actually, it is. Elena reached into her pocket and pulled out the invitation. Gold seal glinting. She held it up. Do you see this seal? People squinted. Cameras zoomed. Brielle's face tightened. Elena continued, voice steady. Silverthorne Bay's official crest doesn't include this star, but your newest documents do. Randall's jaw tightened. Kendall's eyes widened. Brielle's smile faltered. Elena, put that away. Elena looked at the guests. I'm a wedding planner. I deal in details. And this wedding has 2 versions of everything. 2 invitation batches, 2 contract packets, and 2 sets of vendor addendums. Ethan's face went pale. What? Brielle's voice rose, angry now. She's making things up because she got caught. Elena didn't flinch. She turned slightly and nodded toward the AV booth. A second later, the ballroom's large screen, meant for a slideshow of childhood photos, flickered to life. On it appeared a single page of a vendor addendum. The names were partially redacted, no sensitive details, just enough. And highlighted in yellow was a witness signature line, Elena's name, in handwriting. A handwriting analysis overlay appeared beside it. 2 signatures, side by side, one real, one forged. A gasp swept the room. Brielle's mouth opened. Randall took a small step forward. Turn that off. Logan Pierce stepped out from the shadows near the side wall, holding a remote. He didn't look at Randall like he was intimidated. He looked at Randall like he was late. No, Logan said calmly. People turned to stare at him. Randall's face tightened. Who are you to... Logan's voice remained even. Logan Pierce, board investor, and the person who just notified state authorities about a fraud operation running through this resort. The room went silent, then erupted into whispers. Randall's eyes went cold. This is a private event, Logan nodded, and you used it as a private crime scene. Brielle's voice cracked, panicked. Randall, what is he talking about? Randall didn't answer her. Because answering would mean admitting she hadn't been fully in control. Elena stepped forward and spoke again, voice steady but emotional. Brielle, your ring didn't disappear. It was taken to frame me, because I wouldn't sign what I didn't understand. Brielle's eyes flashed. "You're lying!" Eleanor met her gaze. "Don't sign in the dark," Eleanor said quietly. The words hung in the air. Marta, standing near the back with staff, whispered it under her breath like a prayer. Sienna, near the bridesmaids, went pale. Ethan stared at Brielle, hurt dawning in his eyes. "Brielle, did you do this?" Brielle's lips trembled. "No, Randall cut in smoothly, voice calm and loud enough to reassert control. "This is an opportunistic attack by a disgruntled contractor." Logan's gaze stayed steady. "Then you won't mind the investigation?" Randall's eyes narrowed. "Investigation?" Logan clicked the remote again. A second file appeared, an email thread with names redacted, but a clear line highlighted, "Use the ring incident if the planner refuses. Make her the story." The room went cold. Brielle's face drained of color. Ethan's voice was thin. "Brielle." Brielle's eyes darted toward Randall, toward Kendall, toward the screen, like a trapped person. Kendall stepped forward suddenly, voice rising. "This is illegal. You can't display private communications." Logan's gaze turned to Kendall. "You can't commit fraud." And then the ballroom doors opened. Two uniformed officers stepped in, followed by a woman in a navy blazer with a badge on her belt. State Financial Crimes. The sight of the badge changed the air instantly, because money can intimidate people. A badge can interrupt money. Randall's face stayed calm, but Eleanor saw the microshift, fear tucked behind control. The investigator spoke with a steady voice. "Randall Ashford, Kendall Voss, we have probable cause to seize digital records and detain for questioning." Brielle let out a small sound, like her breath had been knocked out. Ethan stared at Randall. "What did you do?" Randall's jaw tightened. "This is a misunderstanding." The investigator's eyes were flat. "We have the contracts, we have the payments, we have the digital signature routing, and we have witness testimony." Randall's gaze flicked to Elena, pure cold. Elena's hands trembled, but she stood still, because she wasn't going to disappear again. Kendall's face crumpled. "I was told—" "Stop!" Randall hissed under his breath. The investigator turned to Kendall. "You want to keep protecting him, or do you want a chance at leniency?" Kendall froze. Sienna stepped forward suddenly, voice shaking. "It wasn't Elena!" Every head turned. Sienna's eyes were wet, but her chin lifted. "It was Kendall. I saw her take the ring. She told me it was insurance. She told me Eleanor was going to cause problems if she kept asking questions." Brielle's mouth opened. "Sienna, what are you doing?" Sienna's voice broke. "The right thing." Brielle looked at Randall like a child discovering the parent isn't safe. "Randall, is this true?" Randall's eyes stayed cold. "Sienna, you're emotional." Sienna shook her head. "No, I'm awake." The investigator nodded once. "Thank you." An officer stepped toward Kendall. Kendall backed up, panicked. "Wait." Randall's voice remained smooth, but it was sharp now. "This is ridiculous. I want my attorney." The investigator nodded. "You'll get one, but you're coming with us." Guests stood frozen. Phones recorded. Whispers became a roar. Ethan turned to Brielle, pain in his eyes. "Brielle, did you know?" Brielle's face crumpled. I didn't know about contracts, I swear. Randall said it was optimization. He said it was normal. He said it was how you keep vendors from overcharging." Ethan's voice cracked. "And the ring?" Brielle's eyes darted to Kendall being escorted away. "Kendall said, she said it would scare Elena into cooperating." Ethan stared at her, stunned. "So you agreed to frame her?" Brielle's voice broke. "I thought it was just a scare. I didn't think—" Ethan stepped back, shaking his head like his world had cracked. "You didn't think because you didn't have to." Silence fell between them. louder than music. Elena stood there, heart pounding, watching a wedding collapse in real time. And she didn't feel triumph, she felt something heavier, because justice is satisfying, but it's also sad. It's the moment you realize how many people were willing to hurt someone who never had power. Logan stepped closer to Elena, voice low. "Are you okay?" Elena swallowed hard. "I'm here." Logan nodded. "That's enough." The investigator turned to Elena. "Ms. Cruz, we'll need your statement and your files." Elena nodded, hands trembling. "I have everything." Marta appeared beside Elena, warm hand touching her elbow. "You did good, Mija." Elena's eyes filled with tears. "I was scared." Marta smiled softly. "You were steady anyway." Sienna stood nearby, shaking, face wet. Brielle stared at her like betrayal. Sienna whispered to Elena, "I'm sorry." Elena's voice was gentle. "You chose the light." Sienna's lips trembled. "I don't know what happens to me." Elena looked at her and said something she meant with her whole chest. "What happens to you," Elena said quietly, "depends on what you do next. Keep telling the truth." The investigation took weeks. The story hit local news, then national blogs. Wedding fraud sting at luxury resort. Real estate mogul detained at daughter's wedding. Planner clears name, exposes contract scam. Everyone had opinions. Some people called Elena a hero. Some people called her a troublemaker. But Elena didn't read much of it. She focused on what mattered. Vendors who'd been overcharged got restitution through court orders and escrow holds. Silverthorne Bay, terrified of reputational collapse, severed ties with its shady revenue services vendor and hired an independent compliance firm. Kendall cooperated, partly out of fear, partly because she finally realized Randall would never protect her. And Randall Ashford, for the first time in his life, couldn't buy silence fast enough. Ethan didn't marry Brielle. Not that night. Not ever. But he didn't publicly destroy her either. He did something that surprised everyone. He insisted on paying the vendors directly to cover what the resort had delayed, even though it wasn't his legal obligation. When Elena heard that, she swallowed hard, because that was what honor looked like. Not a speech, a cost. Brielle disappeared for a while after the scandal. Then, one afternoon, Eleanor received a request for a meeting, private, no lawyers, no cameras, just a coffee shop near the harbor. Eleanor almost said no, but something in her wanted closure. Not for Brielle's sake, but for her own. When Elena arrived, Brielle was already there, wearing sunglasses and no makeup. She looked smaller without her performance. Brielle didn't smile. She just said quietly, "I'm sorry." Elena sat across from her, heart tight. "Why?" Brielle swallowed. "Because I let them use you. Because I wanted a perfect wedding more than I wanted to be a decent person." Elena stared at her. Brielle's lips trembled. "Randall raised me, not in love, in strategy. He taught me that people are tools, that kindness is weakness, and I believed him." Eleanor's voice was steady. "So you thought framing me was strategy?" Brielle flinched. "Yes." Eleanor didn't soften that truth, but she also didn't turn it into cruelty. She said quietly, "You have a choice now." Brielle's eyes filled with tears. "Logan said that too." Eleanor nodded. "Because it's true. You can keep living like everything is a game, or you can decide to stop hurting people to feel powerful." Brielle stared down at her hands. "I testified. I gave them emails. I told them everything I knew." Elena's throat tightened. "That's a start." Brielle whispered, "Do you hate me?" Elena paused. Then she said the truth, because that was the only thing Elena trusted anymore. "I don't trust you," Elena said softly, "and I'm not going to pretend it's fine, but I don't want you destroyed either." Brielle's breath shook. "Why?" Elena met her gaze. "Because I refuse to become what hurt me." Brielle's tears fell silently. Elena stood to leave. As she walked away, Brielle whispered behind her, voice breaking, "I didn't know how dark it was." Elena didn't turn around. She just said quietly, "That's why you don't sign in the dark." Months later, Elena's name was clean, cleaner than before, because it had been tested. Logan Pierce offered Elena a contract, consulting for the resort's new vendor compliance program. Elena accepted, but with conditions: transparency, written approvals, vendor protections, and she kept her mantra on the first page of every packet: "Don't sign in the dark." Marta visited Elena's new office on opening day because, yes, Elena opened her own planning studio, small but elegant, with one wall covered in framed invitations. One invitation sat in the center, Brielle's, with the tiny star, not as a trophy, as a reminder. Marta smiled at it. "That little seal changed everything." Elena nodded. "It did." Marta's eyes softened. "You changed everything." Elena swallowed. "I just held the line." Marta laughed quietly. "That's what people call strength when it's done quietly." And in the end, the justice wasn't just Randall being arrested. It wasn't just Kendall facing consequences. It wasn't even just vendors getting paid back. The real justice was Elena standing in a room full of money and fear and refusing to be erased. Because sometimes the biggest victory isn't winning. It's being seen as human when the world prefers you invisible. So tell me, if you were Elena, would you have exposed the truth at the altar and risked total chaos? Or would you have quietly escaped with the evidence and fought later? Team expose it, or team quietly escape.